Commander Marcus Chen stepped off the transport ship onto the dusty ground of Nova Prime. The hot air hit his face like an open oven. Around him, the small colony bustled with activity, but he could feel the fear in the air. "Commander Chen, I'm Sheriff Reyes," a tall woman said, walking up to him with her hand out. "Thank you for coming." Marcus shook her hand. 15 people missing in 2 weeks. I'd say that warrants attention. Sheriff Reyes led him through the colony's main street. The strange thing is how they vanish. No signs of struggle. No blood. They're just gone. "Any connections between the missing people?" Marcus asked. "Only one. A strange woman was seen talking to each person before they disappeared. The locals called her the Fade. She has skin that shimmers like it's not quite solid." Marcus frowned. "An alien?" "We think so. Nothing like any species we've encountered before." They reached a small office where Reyes showed Marcus the files on each missing person. As he studied them, a commotion erupted outside. Shouts and screams filled the air. Marcus ran out to see people pointing toward the marketplace. "She's here. The Fade is here," someone yelled. Without hesitation, Marcus sprinted toward the market. Pushing through frightened colonists, he spotted her, a tall, slender woman whose skin rippled with colors like oil on water. She moved with strange grace, almost floating rather than walking. A young man bumped into her accidentally. When their arms touched, the man's body became transparent. His scream faded as he did, until he vanished completely. People scattered in panic. The alien woman looked around with what seemed like sadness in her large pupil-less eyes. She turned to leave. "Stop!" Marcus shouted, drawing his weapon. "Don't move." She froze, then slowly turned to face him. Up close, her features were almost human, but too perfect, like a sculpture. Her skin constantly shifted colors. "I'm Commander Marcus Chen of Earth's Space Defense Force," he said firmly. "I need you to come with me." The alien woman tilted her head, studying him. Then she bolted, moving with impossible speed. Marcus chased her through the winding streets of the colony. She was fast, but he knew the layout from studying the maps. He cut through an alley and emerged in front of her. Surprised, she stopped. They stood facing each other in a narrow passage between buildings. "There's nowhere to go," Marcus said, approaching carefully. "I just want to talk." The alien's eyes darted around, searching for escape. As Marcus came closer, she backed against a wall. "What are you doing to these people?" he asked. She made strange sounds, clicks and whistles that might have been language. When Marcus was just a few feet away, she lunged forward suddenly. Before he could react, her hand grabbed his bare arm. Her eyes widened in shock. Nothing happened. Marcus looked down at where their skin touched. Her hand was cool and solid against his arm, not passing through him like it had with the man in the market. The alien woman pulled her hand back. She touched him again, then again, each time with growing confusion. She spoke in that strange clicking language, sounding distressed. "I don't understand," Marcus said. For the first time, the alien looked directly into his eyes. Her voice changed, forming broken words in his language. "Why? You? Not. Disappear." Marcus lowered his weapon slightly. "I don't know." She reached out once more, placing her entire palm against his chest. Nothing happened. She whispered something in her language that sounded almost like relief. "My name? Lyra," she said with difficulty. "Help me, please." In the distance, Marcus heard the sheriff's voice and the sound of approaching footsteps. The alien, Lyra, heard them too and tensed. Marcus had to make a choice. This was his mission: capture the alien responsible for the disappearances. But now, looking into her frightened eyes, he sensed there was more to this story. And he was the only human who could touch her and live to hear it. Marcus made his decision quickly. "Follow me," he whispered to Lyra. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her deeper into the alley, away from the approaching voices. They ducked behind stacks of cargo containers just as Sheriff Reyes and her deputies reached the entrance to the alley. "You saw him chase her this way?" Reyes asked someone. "Yes, ma'am. Down that way," a voice replied. Marcus pressed his finger to his lips, signaling Lyra to stay quiet. She nodded, understanding the gesture. When the search party moved past their hiding spot, Marcus led Lyra through a series of back alleys until they reached the small room he had been given at the colony's guest quarters. "You'll be safe here for now," he said, closing the door behind them. "Can you understand me?" Lyra sat on the edge of his bed, her iridescent skin reflecting the room's dim light. "Yes. Learning. Your words," she said slowly. Each word seemed difficult for her. "What are you?" Marcus asked. "Why do people disappear when you touch them?" Lyra's face showed sadness. She placed her hands together, then pulled them apart with a whooshing sound. "My people. Veil. We live. Between." She pointed at the wall, then at the floor. "Between spaces. My touch pulls others to void." Marcus tried to understand. "You're from another dimension, and your touch pulls people there." Lyra nodded eagerly. "Yes. But you?" She touched his arm again, her expression puzzled. "You stay. Never happened before. Why are you making people disappear?" Marcus demanded. Lyra's eyes widened. "Not want to. Running. Hiding." "Hiding from what?" Before she could answer, a loud knock came at the door. "Commander Chen, this is Sheriff Reyes. We need to talk." Marcus motioned for Lyra to hide in the small bathroom. Once she was out of sight, he opened the door. Sheriff Reyes looked angry. "You let her get away." "I lost her in the alleys," Marcus lied. "She moves incredibly fast." "We have orders from Earth Command," Reyes said. "Any contact with the alien is to be reported immediately. She's to be captured for study." Marcus nodded. "Of course. I'll keep searching." After Reyes left, Lyra emerged from hiding. "They hurt me," she said fearfully. "Cut me. Study me. Others like me." "Others? There are more of you here." She shook her head. "No. Taken. By eaters." Lyra tried to explain, her limited vocabulary making it difficult. Through gestures and broken sentences, Marcus began to understand a horrifying truth. Lyra wasn't taking people randomly. She was running from something worse. Creatures she called eaters that existed in the spaces between dimensions. "Your people, not gone," she said. "Taken. Food for eaters. The missing colonists are still alive." Marcus asked, hope rising. "Yes, but not. Long time." Marcus paced the small room. If what Lyra said was true, the missing people could still be rescued, but no one would believe him without proof. "My ship," he said finally. "I have a scout ship at the spaceport. Can you find these people? Can you take me to them?" Lyra hesitated, fear evident in her strange eyes. "Dangerous. Eaters. Hunt me too." "Why are they hunting you?" "I escape. I know their weakness." She touched Marcus's chest. "You. Humans like you." A plan began forming in Marcus's mind. "We need to leave before Earth Command sends more troops. I'm probably the only human who can work with you safely." Lyra stood up, her posture straightening with new resolve. "Help find your people. You help stop eaters." Marcus nodded. "Deal." That night, they slipped out of the colony under cover of darkness. As his scout ship lifted off from Nova Prime, Marcus knew he was breaking every rule in the book. He was aiding a suspected hostile alien and deserting his post. But if Lyra was telling the truth, he was humanity's best hope against a threat they didn't even know existed. Marcus piloted the scout ship away from Nova Prime. Following Lyra's directions, she stood behind his chair, her iridescent skin reflecting the control panel lights. "Where are we going?" Marcus asked. Lyra pointed to a patch of empty space. "There, where stars look wrong." Marcus frowned. The area looked like normal space to him, just blackness dotted with distant stars. I don't see anything unusual. Human eyes, not see. But there. Lyra touched the view screen, her finger tracing a pattern only she could see. Thin spot. Door to between. Marcus trusted her and steered the ship toward the coordinates. After flying for an hour, the ship's sensors began picking up strange readings. Energy patterns not matching any known type, the computer announced. Recommend caution. Suddenly, the stars ahead seemed to ripple, like stones thrown into a pond. Lyra gasped. Here, stop ship. Marcus cut the engines. The scout ship drifted toward the rippling area of space. As they got closer, Marcus felt a strange pulling sensation, as if gravity itself was shifting. What do we do now? He asked. Lyra's expression grew serious. I'd pull us through. Need touch ship. She placed her hands on the control panel. Ready? Before Marcus could answer, the ship lurched forward. The view screen filled with swirling colors, blues, purples, and colors Marcus had never seen before. His stomach turned as the ship seemed to stretch and compress at the same time. Then everything stopped. They were floating in a place that wasn't quite space. The stars were gone. Instead, strange shapes hung in the void around them, curved surfaces that reflected no light yet somehow remained visible. The void between, Lyra said, her speech suddenly perfect. Here, I speak easier. This is closer to my home. Marcus stared out the view screen in awe. It's beautiful and terrifying. Look, Lyra pointed to floating objects in the distance. As they moved closer, Marcus realized with horror that they were people, dozens of human bodies suspended in the void, perfectly preserved as if frozen in time. The missing colonists, he whispered. Lyra nodded. And others, from many worlds. Marcus activated the ship's scanners. They're alive. Heartbeats are slow, but steady. The harvesters keep them alive. Lyra explained. They feed on consciousness, not bodies. Harvesters. You called them eaters before. Harvesters is the better word in your language. They harvest minds, dreams, memories. They use them for energy to move between dimensions. Marcus guided the ship toward the nearest floating colonist, a young woman he recognized from the missing persons files. We need to get them back to our dimension. Suddenly, dark shapes moved through the void toward them. They had no fixed form, shifting like smoke but with purpose and intelligence. Eyes opened within the darkness, dozens of glowing red points fixing on the ship. Harvesters, Lyra cried. They sense us. The dark shapes surrounded a colonist and began to pull him away. Without thinking, Marcus threw on a spacesuit, attached a safety line, and headed for the airlock. What are you doing? Lyra asked, alarmed. Getting our people back, Marcus replied. He stepped into the airlock and cycled it open. The void didn't feel like space. It was warm, almost like being underwater. Marcus pushed himself toward the colonist being pulled away by the harvesters. As he got closer, the dark shapes noticed him and moved to intercept. But when they touched his suit, they recoiled as if in pain. They can't touch you. Lyra's voice came through his helmet comm. Something about you hurts them. Marcus reached the colonist, a man in his 30s, and grabbed him. As soon as they touched, the man's eyes opened. He looked terrified. It's okay, Marcus said. I'm taking you home. The harvesters swarmed around them, unable to approach directly but blocking their path back to the ship. Marcus felt a strange energy building inside him. When he looked down, he saw his hands glowing with a blue light through his suit gloves. Lyra, what's happening to me? He asked. You're becoming aware of the void, she answered, excitement in her voice. You can affect it, like my people. Marcus focused on the feeling and pushed his hand toward the nearest harvester. A blast of blue energy shot from his palm, scattering the dark shape like smoke in the wind. How am I doing this? He gasped. Questions later, Lyra said urgently. More coming. Return to ship. Marcus pulled the colonist back toward the scout ship, firing blasts of energy whenever the harvesters got too close. They barely made it through the airlock before hundreds more dark shapes appeared in the distance, moving rapidly toward them. "We need to leave," Lyra said. "Now." With the rescued colonists safely aboard, Marcus took the controls and Lyra placed her hands on the panel once more. The ship lurched, and the swirling. The scout ship burst back into normal space, engines straining. Marcus checked their position. They were near Earth's moon base, far from Nova Prime. "We made it," he said, relief in his voice. The rescued colonist lay unconscious in the small medical bay. Marcus checked his vital signs. "He's stable, but his brain activity is unusual." Lyra stood over the man, her expression sad. "Harvesters already took some of his mind. Not sure if he will wake up normal." As if hearing her words, the colonist's eyes suddenly opened. He grabbed Marcus's arm with surprising strength. "They're coming," he whispered. "They hunger for humans more than any species they found. Something about our minds gives them more power." His grip weakened, and his eyes closed again. Despite all efforts to save him, the colonist died an hour later. "We need help," Marcus said. "I know someone at Earth Defense who might believe us." He sent a coded message to Dr. Amara Okafor, Earth's leading scientist on alien biology. She had also been his fiancée before his military career pulled them apart. They landed at a secret research facility in the Rocky Mountains. Amara was waiting for them, her face showing both anger and concern. "You've been declared a deserter, Marcus," she said. "What were you thinking?" "I found the truth about the disappearances," he replied. "And I brought proof." Amara's eyes widened when she saw Lyra. "Is that?" "This is Lyra. She's a veil. Her touch makes people disappear, except me, for some reason." Amara led them to her private lab. "I need to run tests on both of you." As Amara took blood samples, Lyra stared at the news playing on a wall screen. "More disappearances," she said, pointing. The news showed reports of people vanishing in major cities around Earth. Witnesses described seeing strange, shimmering figures touch the victims before they disappeared. "More of your people?" Marcus asked Lyra. She shook her head firmly. "No, my people would never come here willingly. This is something else." Amara interrupted with excitement in her voice. "I found something incredible in your blood, Marcus." She displayed his DNA structure on a large screen. "You have a rare genetic mutation. It appears in less than one person in 10,000. "What does it do?" Marcus asked. "It creates extra bonds in the cellular structure, like anchors that hold you more firmly to our dimension. That's why Lyra's touch doesn't affect you. You're too strongly anchored to be pulled into the void." Lyra touched the screen showing Marcus's DNA. "This is why harvesters fear humans like you. You can resist them." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Security cameras showed shimmering figures entering the building. They looked like Lyra, but their movements were wrong, jerky, and unnatural. "Those aren't Veil," Lyra said, backing away from the screen in horror. "They're harvester-human hybrids. They made them from your people they took." Armed guards rushed to intercept the intruders, but their weapons had no effect. When the hybrids touched the guards, they disappeared instantly. "They're here for you," Amara told Marcus. "They must have tracked your ship." "No," Lyra said. "They're here for his blood. If they learn how his body resists them, they could find a way to counter it." Marcus grabbed Amara's research tablet. "We need to go. Now." Amara hesitated. "I can't just leave my work." "They'll kill you or worse," Marcus insisted. "And we need your knowledge to fight them." A loud crash came from the corridor outside. The hybrids were getting closer. "There's an emergency exit through my private lab," Amara said, making her decision, "and a vehicle we can use." As they ran, Amara downloaded her research to a portable drive. "Your mutation could be the key, Marcus. If we could synthesize it into a treatment, we might create weapons against the harvesters or protect others from being taken. They reached a small electric vehicle as the first hybrid broke through the lab door behind them. Its face looked human, but its eyes were empty black voids. Marcus pushed the vehicle to top speed as they escaped into the mountain forest, the creatures in pursuit. They had the key to fighting back, but now the enemy knew it too. Marcus drove the electric vehicle deep into the forest. Behind them, 3 hybrid creatures followed, moving with unnatural speed through the trees. "They're gaining on us," Amara warned, looking back. Marcus swerved off the road onto a narrow dirt path. "I know a place nearby. An old military bunker that's not on any maps." The vehicle bounced over rocks and roots until they reached a hillside covered with thick bushes. Marcus stopped and led them to what looked like a solid rock wall. He pressed his hand against a certain spot, and a hidden door slid open. "Quickly," he urged. They rushed inside just as the hybrids appeared at the edge of the clearing. The door sealed shut behind them with a heavy thud. Inside, the bunker was dusty but still functional. Emergency lights flickered on, revealing old computers and equipment. "This was used during the first alien contact crisis," Marcus explained. "I found it in classified files and kept it as a personal escape plan." Amara immediately set up her portable lab equipment. "I need to continue studying your blood, Marcus. The answers are there." While Amara worked, Lyra sat quietly, her shimmering skin dimmed with worry. "More of my people could help," she finally said. "Some escaped the harvesters. They hide, like I did." "Can you contact them?" Marcus asked. "Not from here. Need to be closer to thin places, where dimensions touch." Marcus checked the bunker's communication system. "We need to know what's happening out there." The news was worse than they feared. Disappearances were reported worldwide. Governments were in panic. Some thought it was an invasion, others a new disease. "The harvesters are preparing for something big," Lyra said, watching the reports. "They take many humans to make an army of hybrids." A sudden ping came from Amara's computer. She looked up with excitement. "I found something. Your mutation isn't just rare, Marcus, it's specific. The gene sequence seems artificial, like it was designed." "That's impossible," Marcus said. "I was born naturally on a farming colony." "Maybe not so impossible," Amara replied. 25 years ago, there was a secret program to create humans resistant to dimensional shifting. It was after the first contact with interdimensional beings. "You think I'm part of that program?" Marcus asked, stunned. "It would explain why you're immune to Lyra's touch and can hurt the harvesters." Another alert beeped on the communication system. Someone was sending a message on an old military frequency. "This is Resistance Group 7. Are there any immune humans receiving this message? We are gathering forces against the harvesters." Marcus looked at Amara and Lyra, then pressed the response button. "This is Commander Marcus Chen. I'm immune, and I have critical information about the harvesters." They received coordinates for a meeting point and instructions to come carefully. 2 days later, after avoiding hybrid patrols, they reached an abandoned subway station beneath an old city. Armed guards met them and took them deeper underground. In a large chamber, about 30 people waited. Some were military, others civilians. All watched Lyra with suspicion. A tall woman stepped forward. "I'm Colonel Sarah Reeves. We're all immune, like you." She gestured to the group. "Less than 100 known humans have this gene." "How did you find each other?" Amara asked. "When the disappearances started, we'd noticed the pattern. The military had records of the gene program. We've been gathering immune people and fighting back." Colonel Reeves showed them a makeshift lab where scientists worked on weapons. "We can temporarily stop the hybrids, but we need something better." "I might have what you need," Amara said, holding up her research tablet. "With the right equipment, I could develop a treatment to give others temporary immunity." Hope flickered in the colonel's eyes. That would change everything. Marcus stepped forward. "We need to do more than defend. Lyra knows how to find the Harvester's base. We need to take the fight to them. The colonel nodded grimly. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. For the first time since the nightmare began, Marcus felt they had a chance. A small one, but real. The resistance had begun. Over the next week, the resistance prepared for their mission. Amara worked day and night on her immunity treatment, testing it on volunteers. It worked, but only for short periods, about 6 hours at a time. It's not perfect, she told Marcus as they loaded equipment onto a modified transport ship, but it's better than nothing. Lyra taught Marcus more about his abilities in the void. With practice, he could now sense dimensional weak spots and even create small tiers between worlds. You learn fast, Lyra said. Your body remembers what your mind doesn't know. Colonel Reeves selected 12 of her best soldiers for the mission. All had received Amara's treatment. Remember, she told them, this is a rescue mission first. Get as many captives back as possible. The night before they were to leave, Marcus found Lyra staring at the night sky through a small window in the underground base. Are you afraid? He asked. Yes, she answered simply. Harvesters took my family, my world. Now I go to their place. Marcus stood beside her. We'll face them together. Lyra turned to him, her shimmering skin glowing softly in the darkness. Why you help me? I am not human. Does it matter? Marcus replied. We're fighting for the same thing, to save people we care about. The next morning, they boarded the transport ship. Lyra guided them to a dimensional weak spot over the Atlantic Ocean. Ready? Marcus asked the team. Everyone nodded, faces grim but determined. Lyra placed her hands on the ship's control panel, and Marcus placed his hands over hers. Together, they pushed the ship through the dimensional barrier. The void between worlds enveloped them once more, but this time, Lyra steered them deeper, past the floating human captives toward a massive structure in the distance. Harvester world, she whispered. The structure was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen, a giant organic mass that pulsed with strange energies. Smaller structures floated around it, connected by streams of light. It's not a ship or a station, Amara said, studying her instruments. It's alive. The whole thing is a living organism. As they approached, they saw thousands of human forms embedded in the outer walls of the structure, like insects trapped in amber. They're converting them, Lyra explained. Breaking down human minds to power their gateway. Gateway to where? Marcus asked. To your world. Not just scouts anymore. Their entire civilization wants to move to Earth. Marcus guided the ship to a darker area of the structure. We need to find a way in. Lyra pointed to a pulsing opening. There. It's a maintenance passage. They docked at the opening and prepared to enter. Everyone wore special suits Amara had designed to extend the immunity treatment's effectiveness. Stay together, Marcus ordered. Remember the plan. Find human captives, especially Amara's colleague who understands the dimensional physics, and get out. Inside, the structure was warm and moist, more like the inside of a living thing than a building. Walls pulsed with veins of light. The air was thick and smelled strange. They moved carefully through winding passages, avoiding patrolling hybrids. Lyra led them, sensing the flow of energies within the structure. Finally, they reached a vast chamber. Hundreds of humans hung suspended in glowing pods along the walls. In the center, a group of pure harvesters, dark, shifting forms with many eyes, worked around a woman connected to complex organic machinery. Dr. Eliza Santos, Amara whispered. My mentor. She's still alive. Marcus studied the chamber. The harvesters are using her knowledge of physics. We need to get her out. Suddenly, Dr. Santos looked up, as if sensing their presence. Her eyes met Marcus's across the chamber. She mouthed something, a warning. Too late, Marcus realized it was a trap. Alarms sounded throughout the structure, a high-pitched wailing that hurt their ears. Harvester guards swarmed into the chamber from hidden passages. Run, Marcus shouted. The team scattered, firing weapons at the approaching harvesters. The immunity treatment protected them from being taken, but the harvesters had physical weapons too, tentacles of dark energy that struck like whips. In the chaos, Marcus ran toward Dr. Santos, determined to free her. As he touched her restraints, a strange energy flowed between them. Her eyes widened. "The anchor gene," she gasped. "You have it. You can free us all." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked Dr. Santos as he worked to free her from the organic machinery. "Your gene doesn't just protect you," she explained weakly. "It can reverse the harvester's hold on others. Touch the captives." Around them, chaos erupted as the resistance team fought the harvesters. 2 soldiers had already fallen, their bodies dragged away by the dark entities. Marcus helped Dr. Santos stand. "Lyra," he called, "we need to reach the other captives." Lyra fought her way to them, her movements graceful yet deadly. She had fashioned a weapon from her dimensional abilities, a blade of pure energy that cut through harvester forms. "This way," she said, leading them toward a wall of human captives. Marcus touched the first suspended person, a young woman. Where his hand made contact, a blue light spread across her body. Her eyes opened, and the organic material holding her began to dissolve. "It's working," Amara shouted, providing cover fire with a modified weapon. "Keep going." Marcus moved quickly, touching captive after captive. Each touch freed another person from the harvester's control. But there were hundreds, and more harvesters were coming. "We can't free them all," Colonel Reeves said, joining them. "We need to escape with who we have." Dr. Santos grabbed Marcus's arm. "The gateway. They're building a dimensional gateway large enough to transport their entire civilization to Earth. We must destroy it." "How?" Marcus asked. "Your DNA. It's toxic to their dimensional technology. If we can spread it through their main systems." Lyra's eyes widened. "The heart chamber, where all energy flows. We must go there." Marcus made a quick decision. "Reeves, get these freed people back to the ship. Amara, you go with them. Lyra and I will find this heart chamber." "I'm coming with you," Amara insisted. "You'll need my scientific knowledge." "And my guns," Reeves added. They split into 2 groups. Most soldiers escorted the freed captives, about 40 people, back to the ship. Marcus, Lyra, Amara, Reeves, and 2 soldiers headed deeper into the living structure. The passages grew warmer and more alive. Walls pulsed with stronger light. Harvester patrols became more frequent, forcing them to hide often. "We're getting close," Lyra whispered. "Can you feel it?" Marcus nodded. He could sense a massive energy source ahead, like a giant heart beating. They reached a sealed membrane. Lyra touched it, and it opened like a mouth. Inside was a vast chamber filled with swirling energy. In the center floated a dark crystal the size of a car, pulsing with red light. "The dimensional core," Dr. Santos explained. "It powers everything. Their gateway, their abilities, their hybrids." "How do we destroy it?" Reeves asked. Before anyone could answer, a deep voice spoke directly into their minds. "You cannot." From the shadows emerged the largest harvester they had seen, a massive form of darkness with countless eyes. Unlike the others, this one had a definite shape, almost humanoid but much larger. "I am the elder. This world has been preparing for 10,000 years. You cannot stop what is coming." Marcus stepped forward. "Watch us." The elder harvester laughed, a terrible sound that hurt their ears. "Your species is perfect for us. Such rich minds, such deep emotions. You will feed us for centuries." It gestured, and dozens of hybrids emerged from the walls. Among them was a familiar face, Sheriff Reyes from Nova Prime, now transformed into a hybrid. "Surrender, Commander," she said in a flat voice. Join us willingly, and your friends will be given special status. Marcus looked at Lyra, who had been unusually quiet. She met his eyes and nodded slightly. They had discussed this possibility, a last resort. Now, Marcus shouted. Lyra rushed forward and touched the dimensional core. At the same time, Marcus pressed his palm against it from the other side. Their combined abilities, his dimensional anchoring and her dimensional shifting, created a terrible reaction. The core began to crack, leaking energy. The elder harvester shrieked in rage and fear. What have you done? Started a chain reaction, Dr. Santos said with grim satisfaction. This entire structure will collapse into the void between dimensions. Alarms wailed throughout the living structure. Walls began to bleed light. Run, Marcus ordered. Back to the ship. We have minutes at most.